Good morning, everyone, and welcome, Your Holiness, to this discussion in the University of Münster with about 30 students of the International Graduate Schools. There's hardly a word that is more commonly used today in the world than globalization, which simply means the interconnectedness of the different countries, different parts of the world, and the different peoples, of course. And in a sense, I think this gathering here today around the table in the middle of Germany is a nice illustration of this effect. I think there are about 14 nationalities represented by us at this table here, the Tibetan nationality represented by you, 12 nationalities by the 30 students here, and yet another one by me myself. And besides that, this discussion actually is now viewed live in the whole world on the internet, a phenomenon that was totally unknown just a few years ago. So this is also a bit the idea behind the international graduate schools that we represent, to gather the best young minds that we can find in the world and give them an opportunity to develop in an international setting. The hope is both that research of the highest quality will result, but also that this will be a little step toward realizing that no matter where we all come from, no matter what we all look on the outside, we are basically the same human beings. I know that is a topic that is of very major concern to you, Your Holiness. So the experience of working for 3 years here in Germany and doing research will hopefully be another little step in promoting a peaceful future of the world. Such a peaceful future that we all dream of rests on several premises, and one of them is quite definitely that human beings are guided in their daily life by ethical principles. Your Holiness, you have very often repeated that you observe that in Western countries, material developments are very advanced, but that you seem to observe that the inner qualities don't quite keep pace with the outside development. So as scientists, we are mainly concerned in our work with material systems, of course, but if we're not always guided by ethical principles, by a sense of responsibility, that can easily lead to a dilemma or to conflicts. Now we have asked the students of those 7 international graduate schools in North Rhine-Westphalia to give some thoughts to topics that they would like to discuss with you today. And it has been quite fascinating to see that even students of natural sciences and technology, that they actually are struggling with questions of an ethical dimension. By having an open discussion today with you, I hope that we can encourage the thinking of ethical issues also beyond the time spent here at the international graduate schools. Naturally, we also hope that this discussion will be rewarding to you, Your Holiness. And we know that you have always been very concerned about education of young people. Yes. When you had to escape from Tibet to India in 1959 at the age of 23, one of your major concerns was to build up schools in India for the Tibetan refugee children and provide them with a modern education. And endeavor, I think, that has been very highly successful. Another token of your interest in sciences was, of course, the bestowment of the honorary doctoral degree yesterday by the Faculty of Chemistry and Pharmacy of this university. Well, with this very brief introduction, I would first like to ask you, Your Holiness, if you would like to address the students here first with a few words before we then plunge into the discussion.
First of all, I'm very happy meeting with young human being, I think, who still shaping their mind and heart. And meantime, not yet spoiled. So very open, I think very unbiased. Sometimes I feel that the older people like myself, somehow in our mind, in our brain, certain things already fixed, now difficult to change. So in any way, we are already in 21st century. Now, just the beginning of the 21st century. Now, remaining this century is actually belong to you, not me. We belong 20th century, now ready to say bye-bye, like that. So, you are the younger generation. I think this century actually in your hand. So indeed, I'm very, very happy meeting and exchange views, experiences with young people. Are extremely happy. And also ideas, suggestions from young people to an old person is something like refreshment, something like refreshment. So I'm expecting some new ideas or new suggestions. I'm expecting. So that's all. Thank you. Now questions and some discussions.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope we will have a discussion here. You're most welcome not only to put questions, but actually step into a discussion with His Holiness the Dalai Lama here. He loves discussing with young people, so please be open and go on. Before you ask questions or give statements, at least the first time, would you please give your name and the country you come from so that we know who you are? Well, we have heard about responsibility being a very major issue in not only science, but in society on the whole. And I know that several of the participants here are very keen on exploring the topic of responsibility. I know that Mr. Ingmar Steinzen has been giving some thought to this topic, and if you please could open the discussion with your contribution.
Yes, my name is Ingmar Steinzen from Germany. And first of all, I would like to mention that I feel very fortunate, probably as all of us here, to join the discussion with you and Your Holiness. And so I probably start with the question. From my perception, findings of a scientist may have a broader impact than initially intended. So, for example, if we consider stem cell research or any other kind of research, which may stem cell research. So like neurosciences or any other kind of research that may yield to pharmaceuticals which can help to cure human diseases. And on the other hand, if
Can
you please repeat?
Sure. So if we have some kind of research which may yield to pharmaceuticals or medicine.
Actually, the loudspeaker not very clear.
The microphone. Well, he's asking.
Okay, now, yes. Yes.
pharmaceuticals or medicines which may help to cure diseases of humans. But on the other hand, if such research is conducted by multinational corporation, like a big pharmaceutical company, it's not very likely that the medicine or the pharmaceuticals can be afforded by people in rather poor countries. So, in other words, one may perceive research as some kind of part of the solution to the world's problems, but on the other hand, it may be also part of the cause. So, Your Holiness, would you think there is a way how we can distinguish if our research or if research is part of the solution or part of the cause to the world's problems?
Multinational companies mainly zerache and it songarwa and it lumba kibo na la midetsu mainly no matachi lumba chubo mi no mato nyo tu yo mare kinyo tachi research the che cha che then a company the research picture don't cause mainly the song che and lumba kibo today no to paris.
I don't see direct sort of contradiction. Of course, this research work, I think usually you see the other sort of question, whether the experiment on cell eventually living body, and if that go further, now for example, up to now, the experiment on animal, that also sometimes with cruel sort of cruelty. This is one question. So in the past, quite a number of universities where I sort of invited, give talk. In the meantime, some organization told me, please don't go that university because they are carrying sort of experiment on animal extreme way with cruelty. This is something I feel is contradictory. My position, one way, the research on some extent on living thing or living being is necessary. Of course, frankly speaking, some sacrifice, some few living being, but bring benefit to larger sentient being, and particularly human being. So then you see that, so of course, much depends on we human beings ourselves. If we utilize our good human quality rather than negative quality, then really worthwhile in order to save or in order to bring healthier human body, and some animal sacrifice could be acceptable. But then go extreme while you are carrying experiment on animal, without the sort of sense of concern about their life. That's another extreme. I think this is usually because these questions, you see, happen. Now your question, I think the pharmaceutical from richer countries. Now this is another sort of aspect. The global economy related with that. Again, global economy, I think proper word, globalization or something, that I cannot pronounce properly.
Globalization.
Oh, that word. Impossible now. So instead of using that word, I prefer easier to say global economy. so the global economy, in one sense, world becoming smaller, and production of one company, one country, just used within the country, this is now no longer. In ancient time, some kind of principle of self-efficiency. I think like China, People's Republic of China, in early 50s, 60s, very much emphasis self-sufficient.
Sustenance. Sustenance. Self-sustenance. Self-sustenance.
But then, now today's world, that's not the way. You see, unless you see the export, import, you see these business, you see start, your economy cannot build. So global economy is necessary. But at the same time, the global economy, the richer company, multinational sort of company. You see, the intention as well as their policy is dominant their money in the other country and somehow take all the opportunity of the local company's sort of future. That is the morally wrong, helping the local economy while your global economy expand. In the sense, you see, helping the local economy, then I think global economy is, I think, right. So the pharmaceutical sort of work produce richer nation, and then in the poorer nation, firstly, their own sort of potential to produce these must have, and let them grow as your own sort of your own sort of level. Now this is very much linked with the gap rich and poor. On global level, rich countries, northerner rich, southerner poor. Within the nation, for example, the United States, most economy, most powerful, most richest, I think, consumption, I think America, very high. Within America, some pocket poor people still there. According to some of my friends, the number of billionaires increasing year by year. Poor Americans still remain poor, sometimes poorer. So that not only morally wrong, but practically also is a source of problem. Why? This gap, due to this gap in India also, I think some Indian here, isn't it? Some Indian. So in India also, sometimes say when we stay in big hotel, Bangalore or Bombay, Calcutta like that, just to blow there, what we call slum survey. We are same human being. Of course, I think in our Indian sort of ancient thought, due to one's own karma, isn't it? But we cannot sort of excuse this is due to karma. Okay, that's wrong. We have to help them. So if you see this gap remain, then these poorer section of the people getting more frustrations, more suffering, and meantime seeing these billionaire or richer family and some kind of envy, or jealousy. These frustration eventually transformed anger. Anger brings violence. So it is not only morally wrong, but also is practically it is also a problem. Now this is related with your question, Marve. So let poorer countries, let them also, you see, develop. And your experience, share with them, help them build chemistry or these things. Because of chemistry, Marve. Pharmaceutical machines like that in training. And there are just, I met in Portugal, I just met one group, one NGO, I think with connection of United Nations. Now they have, you see, the new sort of what's the method. From air ticket, 1%, right? €1 from each ticket. So collecting for the helping the medicines, particularly malaria, tuberculosis, AIDS, in these three fields. You see, they subsidize medicine in these three illnesses in poorer country. There are people and individuals as well as some NGOs now working that. So these are, I think very right direction, right movement. So since your question is the sort of broad related with these things, I just mentioned. I think this is now a question of whether morally right or not. The richer people, richer country remain richer, poor country remain poor. Now this is the question, Marve. That's absolutely wrong. We have to fight. So sometimes you see poor people. When I saw these things, if they start some kind of demonstration in the front of this big hotel, I would like to join with them. Particularly in Calcutta. Next question.
I saw that you raised your hand.
Yeah, my name is Anton Serendenko from Graduate School Production Engineering and Logistics Dortmund from Ukraine. Just to continue the topic of medical research. Just to continue the topic of medical research, Holiness said it is acceptable to sacrifice animal to help the people. What is your opinion about scientific research on human embryos?
So similar principle. On human, although these embryos or embryos killing
experiment on embryos. So your question is on the experiment on embryo or eliminating the embryo?
No, experiment on embryos.
But the experiment changes So actually, like abortion is act of killing from the Buddhist viewpoint, like many other traditions. So, however, under certain circumstances, for example, no other choice, either mother die or die the child. And the survival of the child brings more suffering to more people, their family members,
or something. And then all the members of the family agree to abortion way. And particular cases may be exceptional.
Yes. So it is actually a matter of calculating the benefit and the demerit.
So basically, as I mentioned before, any living being, not only human being, but animal also, regardless their life, their existence, is very bad. So then human being, no question. If we go extreme, just to play with others' life, is totally immoral. And from the religious viewpoint, sinful action. Must avoid. But then some cases, some exceptional case, something, there is no other way except experiment on embryo or something. And also some risky about their life. But highly necessary. There's no other way to research. And that research definitely bring larger benefit to humanity in general. Then, exceptional case, maybe there. So these are, I think we have to think case to case.
Would you like to comment on that?
I have a question actually. Like just now, Your Holiness, you talk about. I'm sorry. My name is Cheng Yee Low. I'm from Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Yeah.
Malaysian Chinese.
Malaysian Chinese.
Not Malay.
That's right.
No.
Malaysian Chinese.
That's right.
Yeah. And just now we talk about the gap of capability between the poor nation and the rich nation. So instead of keep receiving assistance from the rich in conducting their own research, what should be the responsibility of the developing nation or poorer nation in developing their own research potential in contributing to the advancement of technological research or scientific research? What are the initiative and the responsibility of the developing nation themselves in delivering their own capability?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have been a few countries in Africa. South Africa is comparatively better, and indeed, like marvelous leader Nelson Mandela, and Bishop Tutu, and so on. And also, I think the large number of white people there. I think generally, better. But then one time I visited Gabon. In the official level, what you call elite survey, elite, trained in France, speak French very fluently. But they create their own circle. Even some kind of gap, the elite people and rest of the common people. So that's a mistake. The people must transform. I often used to telling in India also, the big cities, urban area, more development, and rural area, millions of farmers remain old, the old way of life, old style, some bull
Langokri.
No, bullocks.
A century-old sort of farming method. That's not real transformation of India. India's transformation must take on the rural area. That's very, very important. So similarly, in these a poorer country, firstly, the leaders themselves, I think Mahatma Gandhi, I think really wonderful. He was thoroughly educated in England, in the West, as a lawyer, but he very close touch with Indian public, even his clothes, his lifestyle. I think that really need. You see, the leadership must close with the leader means leading the people. So there must be very close connection. Connection not by law, but by faith, trust, isn't it? So this is a gap. Elite people and masses is, I think, very, very unfortunate. Now, so few occasions when I was in African countries, I usually was telling them the people should have self-confidence and enthusiasm and should feel equal. White people and black people equal, no differences. The white people have better opportunity, they developed. The black people, opportunity not come, now opportunity come, must take the same effort. The white people, their sort of, high development, not come from sky, but through work, through hard work. So therefore, I think the poorer side, I think main responsibility I feel remain on them. Must work hard with this self-confidence, not frustration or anger, but determination, and then richer side. Give not just give money, but give them education, training, and provide instrument. And that Polynesia is.
And the loan also is to be considered. The loans.
That also is important. So I think it's both sides' responsibility. The richer side, morally, should take genuine care or concern about the welfare or well-being or development of the poorer nation. And the poorer nation side also, you see, work hard, determined. This is my feeling.
Several of you would like to discuss about this issue. I saw you raised your hand first.
My name is Magdalena Ulman. I am from Poland.
Poland?
Poland.
Poland?
No.
Oh. Good.
I would like to recall shortly one more time the problem of experiments and abortion. Your Holiness mentioned that abortion is acceptable in some circumstances when the mother is in danger to die. What about when the embryo is in some extinct damage? Yes. So we know that the child won't be healthy.
Right?
Embryo di che si gyönsho yene ni oggi ha delle cose che io sia.
The gyönsho da ko misgor ta gyönti te yuro.
Right. Abortion children.
That because the concern media digita da ba so.
So here the interest and the thinking of that mentality of the concerned people.
Desire.
The desire of the concerned people, they should be considered the most important thing.
I think you are the next one, and then we go back to you.
I want to go back on the point that you raised about the testing of the animals. And so you mentioned that one of the things...
From?
Oh, sorry. Rick Scavetta from Canada.
Canada.
Sorry. And so...
Which part of Canada?
French speaking.
English part, Toronto.
Good.
And one of the points that you mentioned about the animal testing was that it is okay because it is to the benefit of all. And many scientists recognize this, but the layperson, the common person, recognizes the scientist as very cold-hearted, and that the scientist is abusing the animal, like these protesters.
Yes.
And they don't see the benefit, because the benefit maybe comes 10, 20 years.
That's right.
The scientist is dead,
That's right.
and then the benefit comes from their work. But Buddhism has a similar relationship with society. Society does not understand really the philosophy of Buddhism, but it takes certain aspects into popular culture. Similar with science, it takes aspects of molecular biology and DNA, and you can find now everything from television shows to face cream that have DNA, but they don't really understand science. How does Buddhism engage the public to educate them about really what is Buddhism, and how can scientists also engage the population to really educate them what is a scientist doing with the animal and what is the purpose of the science?
The Buddhist view corresponds to the other. No. That the Buddhism is a milk of love.
So there's that the Mansul, the Nampechu, Lab Nampekala, and it deal with the soon. Somebody, the Jumte contest Tungu, maybe Lamsan, Mashimache. That the science is in by science Jumte Martin, Jumte the Barula, Simjans to Bokandian, you made the Digo Sami, Shingo Maris, Malapio Maris. That the Kandai Digi, Itone, Kandai, Kamushkana, and Shishini, Chedi. Kasura, there's several Chumbaine, and the Tame Jumte Gachmo Tungu, but Milk Motor Shed, science to the Kachim Rishas, now you don't think she's how you was, so that the motor shed on her shoulders.
This also related with major religious tradition. I think generally Christianity. So Buddhism is something, of course, Buddhism belongs to Asia. West, I think generally Judo-Christian background. So I think that generally you have to deal with Judo-Christian sort of authority. I think we cannot bring explanation from the Buddhism. Right? That's, I think, different. Some my friend say told me the experiment on animal. Once that person used to watch, and terrible. And he wrote, a book. But then concerned organization, told him should not publish. So these things are not good. I think, as you mentioned, I prefer carrying this experiment, but with full sort of care of the animal. In the meantime, make clear, transparent. Then I think the public, then eventually I think knows better and knows with feeling of can see reasons. If some these experiment not published, but the public in any way knows, then remain secrecy. No. That means indicate they are guilty.
The guilt.
Guilty, right?
No.
Oh. So then I think more obstacle, I feel. That's one my friend, she told me like that.
So here we really need to publish what's really going on there with the research and these things on animals to make it transparent.
Oh, both sides. Of course, there are some cruel, some sort of sacrifice or suffering there, but only highly necessary. Then it happened. Usually, those concerned people they're taking maximum care that picture make clear to the public. Well, then maybe easier. I feel like that. Otherwise, I'm not an expert. Let's
talk about the publicize.
Publicize, I don't know. Next question.
Hello, I'm Vincent. I'm coming from Spain. And now I'm a
Come
PhD.
from
Spain.
Spain, I see, yes.
And now I'm doing, I'm a PhD student in Bochum, doing research in monkeys, very proudly. So we do oculomotor research. So we try to understand how we use these monkeys as models for understanding how our brain are doing processing, like, for example, moving our eyes, and also providing some solutions for certain diseases. As we know, monkeys were used last century for providing, for example, solutions to diseases like the polio vaccine, which saved millions of lives. And then my question is really simple. The statistics says that for each monkey that we use 1,000 rats. And for each monkey that we use, for example, 100 cats. So my question is, are all animal beings equally important when planning animal research? If not, how many rats will equal the life form of a cat? How many cats will equal the life form of a monkey? And how many monkeys will be worth of using for finding a solution for a common disease? Thanks.
All sentient beings equal. We human beings, I think Dalai Lama's life, or the life of the president, or professor, or chancellor, and life of small insect, same right. All have right to exist. We cannot make distinction. If we make distinction among the animal, that eventually goes to human being. In order to save a king's life, or 10, 100 poor people's life sacrifice, then that's the coming. Totally sort of dangerous. That's why Buddhism, they describe all sentient being as a mother sentient being, as dear as one's own mother. And one of my Muslim friend, he told me, true Muslim, true Islam practitioner should love entire creature, not only fellow human being. A similar Buddhist concept, entire. So that's Buddhist view. And meantime, Tikpa Shijunji, so Chaba Chibaredi, Dumne Chijung Gutane, Tikpa Shijunji, Genshijare.
Yes.
So that's Dumne Chijung, the Karisma, Lumun Chijung, Dumne Chijung.
So, meantime, there is also a consideration about the intensity of the suffering the animals are undergoing, and the intensity of the suffering.
Now, for example, killing one human being, just a shot, or through anesthesia, or electric shock, and
through beating, gradually die. Both are killing. But one way of killing, more torture, more pain. So that killing is worse than just instantly killed. Because, I mean, not from the angle of life, but because of the way, because of the
intensity of suffering.
So from that basis, from that sort of same reason, more bigger physical, more pain. Kill animal, or kill elephant. Usually we can see, even you see those lions kill elephant or buffalo, big buffalo. You see buffalo remain long period, still moving. While is the lion remain like that. The small, instantly kill. So the amount of suffering, there's differences. So from that viewpoint, maybe small mosquito, my relations with mosquito is not very positive. So maybe mosquito, because of small size, so maybe less pain. So from there, monkey, bigger body, more sophisticated brain, then small animal, maybe less. That's
so this is one way of explaining, but it doesn't regard that one life is more precious than the other. So the life, with regard to the level of the life, we treat every life as equally important and precious.
Okay, the first one was Michel Seifert.
Yeah, Your Holiness, we just talked the whole time about sacrificing animals during research, or even embryos during research, and you said that if benefit will be guaranteed by these sacrifice, well, somehow we can do it. But one important point, I guess, or from my point of view of research, is that you don't know the result.
Yes.
So in other words, who can take the responsibility for the fact or the point if this experiment where you sacrifice an animal or even an embryo will guarantee or will get benefit or not. So how to, because that's one important fact about research, you don't know the result.
That's right. Every future uncertain. Now here the possibility 60% some benefit. That didn't that doesn't actually get shaking. That depends on your research. That doesn't Jidan to Saba change that the page that Panda Shayama says, being that usually actually. And it's all some around it. That doesn't Nobody again, it doesn't to do that garage, Saba, Chipia, and so good.
So right in the beginning, we have to see we have to analyze, we have to examine whether or not the result is going to be, surely going to be coming to fruition, almost like 50%, more than 50%, or 60%, say. So in that case, then it's better you carry on with the research. And whereas the result is less than, the possibility of achieving the result is less than 50%, say 40%, then it's better to stop the research.
Otherwise, there is naturally a tendency of just carelessness about the pressures of life. Then better avoid.
And also the motivation plays a very important role here. The positive motivation is crucially required for such experiments.
So that's basic Buddhist principle is the now question of violence. The goal definitely benefit to larger interest.
That also is the interest, not question of one win, one defeat, not that question, but real value to the concerned people. And then the motivation, the serious concern about the large benefit, positive sort of benefit to larger people or larger sort of beings. Larger beings. And then there is no other alternative except elimination of the troublemaker. Then killing permissible. The violence is permissible. Now this is the principle Buddhist way. So violence and non-violence is method. Important is the goal and motivation. Finally, motivation is the key factor. That's Buddhist viewpoint.
So actually there is the anecdote or a story in relation to the Buddhas, one of the previous lives of the Buddhas. So the Buddha, in one of his previous lifetimes, as an ordinary person, although awakened. So what happened was that he was traveling with 999 people.
No, 1,000 people.
No. So total 1,000. Then there was one of the members there. He was planning
among the 1,000 people, one person, quite stupid.
And he was
thinking, if he kill 999 person, then all belongings, these people, he take by himself. Then the leader give warning several times to abandon that action. But then that person never stopped. So they finally then finding no other alternative. So this leader of the group, he decided to kill the person for two reasons. One, to protect the life of 999 members, and the other to protect the perpetrator himself from having to undergo the experience of enormous suffering in the future lifetimes because of having accumulated the negative action of killing 999 persons. That leader sacrificed his own sort of sin, killing one person, in order to save one person's 999 human killing. So here is a compassion involved. So now here again, I think the important distinction, action and actor. So compassion towards the actor. So in order to save or protect the actor, stop his or her action. Next question.
Thank you. The next one was Lars Dittrich.
Lars Dittrich, I'm from Germany. I'm biologist.
Louder.
I'm biologist by training, and I'm doing neuroscience. And I would like to address this topic one more time, if I may. And this is, we talked about measuring the benefit and the suffering, and I'm not sure how to measure benefit from science. So it's very easy if I say I can maybe cure a disease and save so many lives or save so many people from suffering. But what about the simple gaining of knowledge? In my research, my first aim is not curing diseases, but to understand how the brain works. This is why I personally am doing research. And is this understanding an excuse for making animals suffer. So stopping myself from suffering from not knowing how the brain works, and maybe doing the same in future with other people who do not need to suffer from their not knowing anymore in future. Is this something that can be measured and compared to suffering of animals?
So perhaps it is very difficult to understand everything that is there in this universe.
I think phenomena infinite. So it is impossible to know every phenomena. And also, you see, not necessary in order to lead meaningful life, should know everything. So I don't know. You see, that's a quite difficult question.
Tricky, no?
Again, I think every our action, we should abandon both extreme. So, see, without carry any sort of activities for investigation, merely for knowledge, abandon that altogether, another extreme. We must carry experiment in order to know the fact. But another extreme, in order to gain that, regardless pains and life,
the importance to life,
or pains and is the other's life. That another extreme. So between there, occasionally, little pain. Otherwise, I don't know. I think the Tibetan medical system, I think the knowledge, for example, the
pulse reading,
pulse reading, no. Quite remarkable. And then you see they use different herbs, different stones, minerals, different metals, including mercury, purified mercury, but never test on animal. Or sometimes use some animal product also, some cases. I don't know, it's somehow, how developed, I don't know. But at least, you see, several centuries never carry test on animal. So very non-violent type. But gain quite remarkable sort of knowledge. So I think without disturb others' life, I think there is way to expand our knowledge. But then emotion and mind is concerned. I think just sort of research on brain or neuron alone may not gain fuller knowledge about mind. It's very complicated. Now this is further sort of question. Whether mind is 100% that come from brain or neuron. Now this is big question now. Now among the scientists, I think majority still believe mind, or the phenomena so-called mind, is just a product of brain or neuron, these things. Some scientists now begin to put some questions. So therefore, I think fuller knowledge about mind, I think, takes another few centuries. Yeah, covered it. Next question.
Okay, Constanze Hahn was the next one.
So now, in order to know mind or consciousness, the meditation, certain form of meditation also is useful to read mind.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with this, but I still think that the mind comes out of the brain, and I think that it was more the former times than people thought mind must be something else, and more researchers conclude that it must indeed be the brain that really produces the mind. But I don't. I still agree that meditation could be an important step, and this doesn't exclude each other, I think.
No, of course, it is not Hasoda. It is not appropriate saying by Buddhist monk. Now the concept of soul, century-old concept, in the scientific field, no way to find some central controller in our brain. So some of my scientist friends, a few occasions, mentioned that. Now, from the scientific viewpoint, there is no room of soul. So the Buddhist concept, selflessness, is more suitable. But that does not mean there is no existence of different level of mind. Grosser level of mind, very much based or product of our brain. Obviously, we call human mind, means with human body. But further, now for example, mind and awakening state, one level of mind. Then dream state, another level of mind. Deep sleep, another level of mind. Faint, another level of mind. At the time of dying, another level of mind. And finally, at the time of death, the most subtle mind now occurring. So through meditation, through practice, you can make these distinctions. So it is quite, I think, the subject of mind or emotion is very vast, not simple. One occasion in former Soviet Union, I think 1979, my first visit that part of the world, I met some scientists. The communists indoctrinated some scientists. When I mentioned the sensorial sort of consciousness and mental consciousness, then they immediately reject. They got the impression the sixth mind means some kind of soul, like that. So I think when you mentioned in the past mind and brain something distinct, I think mainly refer soul. That now very difficult to find. On the basis of that belief, difficult. But that does not mean there's some subtle mind which control our brain or influence in our brain.
I think that also is difficult to deny. But still we need more time to research. Good.
Okay. Mrs. Han, would you please ask your question?
Yes. I'm Constance Han. I'm from the IGSN in Bochum. And I thought...
You're from?
Bochum, Germany. I'm German origin. And I think it's very interesting what you, the exploration you just made. My research interest is sleep and circadian rhythms and sleep. And I'm very much interested in finding out how the brain works and also at these different minds. I originally was going to ask it how you feel about us being able to see the brain at work, maybe find out things and how we should deal with knowledge that we gain when we make predictions, for example, finding to prevent crime or something like that, to say maybe like when we gain knowledge and we make assumptions on it where we're not entirely sure, when is the time for the public to make decisions? The other part that came into my mind while you were talking was I totally agree that we have different states of mind when we enter sleep, when we dream, when we are in daydream or day trance thinking. And I think a lot of important decisions are made not when we consciously think about stuff, but when we unconsciously have our brain work on it. And maybe this is where spirituality and neuroscience may approach each other to find out what the mechanisms are. Or maybe when we are not entirely able to explain by brain, by neural mechanisms. Maybe spirituality adds something else, something additional that we may never be able to capture. And I would be really interested in knowing and asking you what your ideas and thoughts are about this.
So I'm not too clear about the first part of your question.
The first question is how we should handle the knowledge that we gain today. I'm sure it has implications on the future. If we know about people, when we look at the brain, we can tell this person may get this and this disease. Are we allowed, should we tell this person? Should we not tell the person? Because by releasing information, we influence the person's life. And maybe science always has a little rate of error, and we are not entirely sure. These are the issues I'm thinking about.
아니 tempo 열심히 건 타주 직체. yapdi tempo 시라 매비 이제 숙심시라 매되게 된지식 돈 타주 이어서 unconscious.
나 많이 없었다.
unconsciously 있으면다 시우직이 배텐시 템포라 매되게 되지도네. 타주 이어서. 배텐시 템포 매베 돈 타주에 마로 다 두시고 그랬어. 디제에 대해 배진 레베톤에 고난치나 대시 시상식 투아요 팀도스. 되게 무지 보자 그랬어.
The first part. Tadi, I think depend on the reaction of the patient. Now, some cases among Tibetan, among my friend, when some problems start, then they the meeting with physician, and then ask if this trouble is the symptom of cancer, then please tell me clearly something incurable sort of disease. Then let me know, so that accordingly I will prepare. So in such case, is it better take tell clear. Then some my friend, they through third person, I was told a cancer patient, but himself
you see, still seems not knowing. And even the word cancer, they're uncomfortable. And like some people, you say the very word of death, something uneasy, and sort of prefer not using these words. In such case, naturally, little lie necessary, although going to die, but then better to say, oh, few years, no problem, that kind of things. Now, according the beneficial to the person. If tell truth, more benefit, tell. If tell truth, more worry, more additional suffering, then better not to tell. That's the action correct on sometimes.
So here, in this case, it is not to judge on the basis of the action. So similarly, in all actions that we undertake, it is very important to see as to how much benefit, whether or not there is a benefit in doing that action to the object. If there is benefit to it, if there isn't, don't do it.
The second part. Yes, yes.
The second part concerns the different stages of mind. Consciousness, like when we think, unconsciousness, when we are not aware. I think the brain does still a lot of thinking. And I wonder where you see parallels between neuroscience and spirituality, like Buddhism. When you make important decisions, when you get important insights, I feel sometimes it's not the time when you actively think, but when you are in your dreams, when you sleep, or when you almost fell asleep, then you all of a sudden you find an answer to the question that you were wondering. Do you see any parallels with?
No,
That's, I think, we need really the further research. Some experience to a person. Now, for example, daytime, very busy, read. Then dream time, day reading text. So next day, full of knowledge. So the dream body, through certain training, the more or less autonomous body, you see, can develop. That autonomous body then can read. And I think if someone who really want to spy on other, then I think should have dream body, then goes wherever you like. So you see, it's autonomy, so it's own sort of consciousness, and analyze. And then, of course, even this last night, in my dream, you see some talking, some people, and I use a lot of sort of reasons. Yes. So dream state also, you see, the certain level of consciousness, it equipped its own kasota, as a certain ability of reasoning, like that. But conscious, unconscious, that is remote sometimes.
So this discussion on the whether or not someone is conscious or unconscious, that has to be dealt with, that thought of in various levels.
So that's really unconsciously.
Strictly in Buddhist terminology, in terms of...
I think ancient Indian sort of thought, I think similar. Those sort of tradition, you see, who have the idea of law of causality, karma. So, you see, there are a variety of karma.
On the karmic causality, where one does an action.
Karma means action.
One does an action, and these actions can be classified into 4 categories. One, the action which is done and not accumulated, and the other, done and accumulated both, and the other, not done, not accumulated, and one, not done but accumulated. So there are actions which are done but not accumulated.
No. No. Oh. Pleasure and Gyawada Tikbosati, Mangche, Pejitiri, consciously. The Lumating lemon, which unconsciously.
So here, generally speaking, or broadly speaking, most of the virtuous and unvirtuous actions or the karmas, they are accumulated, and they are done as well as accumulated. So that is associated with the conscious state. And whereas those actions done on the unconscious state, so they are done but not accumulated.
Next question.
Okay, the next one is Silicons.
Yeah, my name is Thomas Silicons. I'm from Germany. Your Holiness, I would like to put a question and get the discussion or get another aspect into the discussion, which is we have talked a lot about science, making progress in science, and all of this is rather rational. And my question is this rational way, this striving for progress, doing things better and better, not sometimes stopping us from finding our way to God or to reach some kind of enlightenment? Is it always good only to think scientific?
More intuitive,
Intuitive. No.
Intuitive.
The present Pope, last year I had the audience. So he emphasizes importance of faith and reasons. Without faith, the spiritual experience is difficult to gain. Without a reason, the faith may not come relevant. Faith is relevant.
Yes. So if you don't resort to reasoning, then you may not find the relevancy of the faith.
So, Christianity now also you see some people who have authority now speaking importance of combination faith and reasons. So we need, for practitioner, I think we need both. Then in the case of Buddhism, particularly the Sanskrit tradition, you see, faith also must be based on reasons. So I think here, I think the real differences, theistic religion and non-theistic religion, is the non-theistic religion, particularly Buddhism, human level, human mind, start from human level, human ordinary mental level, and then improve or transformation better through reasoning, through familiarization. The transformation, how to take transformation, is utilize human intelligence maximum way. That brings new conviction, new outlook. That conviction eventually transform about our emotion. That's the way. So therefore, the Buddhist way is start from ordinary human level, then become Buddha. So the theistic religions usually, it seems, from God come the religion, then to human being. So therefore, the Buddhist approach is for that highly necessary use reasons. So the religious practice itself, usually we call the two kinds of meditation: single-pointed meditation and analytical meditation. Analytical meditation means investigate and reasoning like that. As yesterday I mentioned, science also, you see, way or way of approach to know the reality. Buddhist system also, through analytical meditation, analyze. Of course, Buddhist practitioner knows sort of what is the equipment. Equipment is simply our mind and logic on our day-to-day experience. And then, because of this, that should be. Because of that, should be that. That's the way of reasoning.
In the Buddhist logic, there's the mention of the two kinds of reasonings. One reasoning to establish something, and the other kind of reasoning to reject something which is not existent. And then within this category of the reasoning of establishing the existence of something, again it is of two kinds. One, the reasoning using the result to infer the cause, and the other, the reasoning using some kind of characteristics or attributes of something, and on the basis of that establishing the main primary object, which is in possession of that attribute.
So therefore, in Buddhist approach, reasoning is very, very essential.
Well, the last question, time is running up. Ms. Santinanun, I saw that you raised your hand previously.
I just want to conclude the question about tier experimenters or something. Like, if you go further, any kind of research is complete and you want to give the drugs away to other humans, you have, especially the pharma industry, have to test it on human beings, mostly on their free will. So my question is, how do you think about to develop drugs and that you can give it away to cure, as a cure or to help people, that you have to test these drugs on human and risk sometimes their life? How can you value this?
So I think it is the for this again the similar kind of response is what I'm going to give. Say if you are doing some kind of experiment on a human being and at the will of that person, then there again if you see that there's 60% or more percentage of benefit that you can envision, and if the person is ready, so even if it costs the life of that person, so it's worth. But whereas if the benefit that you are envisioning is less than 50%, then better not to do the experiment.
These are largely depend on the surgeons, physicians, and nurses. Their sense of responsibility, sense of affection. According to my own experience, when visit hospital, the doctors, nurses, showing you with human feeling, then you feel, oh, this really taking care to me, right? And feel happy, isn't it? In some cases, maybe a very great profession, but without showing smile, without showing genuine sort of human feeling, treated or handle you like repairing one motor car. Without sort of human feeling. Then sometimes you feel, oh, maybe they carry some experiment on me. That kind of feeling sometimes happen, isn't it? So I think here, you see, very important, they trust the patients and the doctor or nurses. If there's trust, then the patients also feel much
safe,
much safer, much more safe,
calm,
much calm. And I think with trust, some, the doctor, told me, even the false pill or drugs sometimes worked because of the trust. So in any way, the mental enthusiasm from the patient side is very, very important. So for that, they are sort of fresh sort of mental attitude, enthusiasm. For that reason, the surrounding atmosphere full of affection, and doctors, nurses showing full of human feeling, take full care about their life or about their pain. I think that's a question. That's, I think, more important. One time in Japan, meeting some doctors, they asked me the trust between patient and the doctor is important, and how to develop that trust. And I told, I don't know, I have no such experience. But it seems to me, again, question of human affection or human compassion. It's the basis of trust and honesty. That's my view. That's my view. Oh.
Well, thank you very much for your insights. This was the last question, and we will now visit the big hall to see the people who have listened to this discussion. Thank you so much for coming here and discussing with the Dalai Lama and showing your concerns about many, many issues that obviously also concerns of the Dalai Lama as a Buddhist monk. I think there is much, much more common ground here where we discuss and we grapple with the same problems no matter what background we have, what science we actually represent. And I think it's highly interesting to see how long we can spend. I'm sure we could spend the whole day here discussing, and we would still have questions to discuss.
Thank you. I very much appreciate it. Good. 어디 빠르시게 얘기해.
양초가 나오신 바
그래서 뭐 먹고 살지 마. 이 question 은 주지 마.
Maybe we can take a group photo if everyone wants to come up. Maybe the taller ones can stand in the back and some can come in the front.
Yes, you're talking. This is what. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.